Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome everyone who has joined us in this webinar addressing our topic, how can Stokvel cooperative finance address the challenges of township economy? I would like to just briefly welcome everyone for joining. Township economy has been talk of the town for the longest while. And I think this is an ongoing process. And as it is now, we are talking about Stokvel in terms of cooperative institute. We have our guests here, Ndade Tato Khanaga, le Ms. Kumo Mailula, who will briefly, they will present based on the topic, and then we take it from there. There'll be a panel open for questions and answer as we proceed. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Ndade Tato.
Thank you very much, Kotato. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us in. Like Kotato just said, the topic for the day is cooperative finance, as in Stokvel's, how that could develop the township economy. So I will let Kuzo take it right away. We'll be interchanging between the slides. She will start, and then I will join as she goes. Thank you. Kuzo.
Thank you, Tato. Good evening, everyone. So we were tasked in the BMF program, the young professional ones, we were tasked to go investigate why township Stokvel is actually not working. So this is our table of contact. We went out and did our research. We'll have our introduction and background, ideal state of affairs, where we should be. And then we'll delve deep into the problem and the root cause, possible solutions. We will all engage and give our input, and then we will conclude with our viable solution that we came up with. So as it was mentioned that enterprise build a better world, as we have seen it with other nations, what they've done. So the purpose of this research was to say that we do have the capital is present in our country, because irrespective of the inequality, somewhere, somehow we do have income, and then we do have people, which is human resource, and we actually do have a market because we consume goods and services in our country. So why is it not working? What are we doing wrong? That's the question we had to ourselves. So stockpiles is actually a concept that started in the 18th century, and it is there to create self-help. They started it back in the olden days in the communities, in the rurals, where when there was a funeral, they'll contribute collectively so that they can actually bury their loved ones. And we can see now the common ones, which our parents and our elderly are doing, is to buy groceries and at the end of the year so that they've got enough food for the December holidays and everything. So it's an old concept, so which I believe we are all familiar with. So, and then some of the reasons that we actually created it is, us the young ones, is to socialize and keep in touch, because we are career people, we are busy hustling and doing everything. So it is just to keep us in touch with one another, to just check if your loved ones are well. Yes. So in 1997, Nelson Mandela sent a task team to go to Germany to actually go and study the Stokvel model that they actually have in Germany. So in 1998, the BMZ, which is like the Department of Economy, taught us what they did in the German concept, where they actually started making the rural areas, all those remote areas, to stand on themselves. They built them up where they produce the food and then they sell things where it is actually going through the market. So I will elaborate more on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuzo. For the purpose of our research, we actually went to Germany precisely because I think it was the administration of Nelson Mandela that sent people to Germany to go and find out their model and how they've mastered the infrastructure and the structure of how they built up their cooperatives and bring that back to South Africa. So in our research, what we did is we benchmarked ourselves with Germany. We would have ideally liked to benchmark ourselves again with a developing country like India, which has similar challenges as South Africa with state interference and blah, blah, blah. But because we didn't have a lot of time, we couldn't do that. Next slide, Kuzo. So an ideal state of affairs, next slide. So when we speak about an ideal state of affairs, we're speaking about an ideal state of a cooperative. And when I say cooperative, I actually, cooperative and a stokvel is not really much different. It's just how there's an economic output when it comes to a cooperative instead of a stokvel, which we are all familiar with. We put money together at the end of the year. We share for groceries, we buy clothing and all just to sustain ourselves in December and January because those are the busy months. But when we talk about an ideal state of affairs, when we have a cooperative, it needs to be productive, it needs to be developmental and self-sustaining. Now, the questions we need to ask ourselves is, and some of us who are part of stokvels, and sometimes we call them social clubs because we literally go there to socialize. Are they productive? Are they developmental to the individuals? And are they self-sustaining? Can they sustain themselves financially without member contribution? Right. So in an ideal world, you want a stokvel or a cooperative that is able to be productive itself, because that is how it will sustain itself. And then developmental is it when you go to the stokvel the whole year, what do you get out of it besides the mini interest that you get that we all know? So do you get skills? Do you get certain skills? Do people rotate in sitting in the front seats, treasurers and all that, because sometimes you find a single person sitting on the treasurer's seat for 15, 16 years, you know. So we need to ask ourselves, our cooperatives, are they our stokvels? Are they productive? Are they developmental? And will they be able to sustain themselves? So that is what we ultimately want to see when we open up a cooperative. Another thing is the money rotation. Money rotation in the sense that there's actually an individual in the US, I think his name is Dr. Anderson. So he spoke about this money rotation thing, and he actually put it into, he calls it money groups, economic groups or group economies. So, but he took it down to ethnic separation. He separated like that. So he mentioned something like in the Arab community, money rotates about 27 to 28 times before it leaves the Arab community. And about the Asians, it's about 21 to 22 times before it leaves the Asian community into other communities. The white community is about 13 to 14 times. And I give anybody a guess how many times it takes in a black community. I dare anybody to get it wrong, but that's the whole concept. We want, in a township, we need money to circulate within the township before it leaves the township. Because otherwise we've got the muscle, we've got the capital, we've got the money, but we are unable to grow the economy inside because the money keeps leaving the township. And also that will happen only if it's an inclusive ecosystem. It includes everybody in the township, and everybody works on the same bandwagon. The next slide, please, Kuzo. So in looking at the German success model, now I'll start it from the bottom, because it says shareholder plus customer equals the local cooperative bank. So in Germany, in the local rural areas, let's take Soweto. Let's say Soweto was in Germany. It's a part of somewhere where Germany is. Soweto on its own would have a local cooperative bank. And the reason why the shareholder is the customer as well is because in cooperatives, unlike mutual banks and corporate and cooperative banks that are the big banks, the big guys, everybody is an equal shareholder in a cooperative, right? So let's take a Stokvel in Soweto where people are contributing money. The capital is there. If you go to all the Stokvels, you'll find it's a $2.3 billion industry. But we are unable to take that money and use it and sustain ourselves enough and open our own local cooperative banks, which we can, because all we do is we take the money, we give it to the big guys. The big guys go to the international market, make billions of rands, come back and give us, interest minus inflation kind of returns. Whereas if you look at in Germany, especially rural Germany, because these guys have cooperatives for everything. It's the financing, it's the energy, it's the food, it's everything. They sustain themselves. So even on the energy side, they make sustainable electricity themselves, because they have the cooperatives, they own the cooperatives, and then they end up selling to the state. They end up selling electricity to the state. So, but if you look at the South African context, there's none of that. There's no cooperatives, like I said, because like I said, cooperatives have a economic output, unlike us, which is pretty much a survival kind of thing that we need money in December, So if you look at the corporate finance framework in Germany, which are the big guys, they actually operate on a bigger scale. But in between the people and the big guys, when I say the people, I mean townships and rural areas, you find these local cooperative banks that are actually owned by the people in the township. And that's how and not just the banks, like I said, whether it's agriculture, whether it's energy production, whether anything economic, they come together, they band together because they've got the capital, and they actually make it a success like that, because it belongs to everyone. And if it belongs to everyone, everybody will take care of it. So this is on a high level, this is the German success model, which is what we would like to envision for South Africa. So if you look on the next slide, it's the members of cooperative banks in letters of millions coming across the year. So if you look at the years, it's an upscale, meaning there's a whole lot more people looking at community banking and community financing and group financing. So the model of having cooperative banks is increasing along the years, as we see on that graph right there. Next slide, Kuzo. That's same thing like on the past, but that's the balance sheet and total deposit loans of cooperative banks over the years. So if you can look at it's an uphill, and it's increasingly increasing. So it's increasing at an increasing rate. But if you look at where we are in South Africa, we are actually the opposite. We are nowhere to be found. Yet this is the model that we went out to look for and looking to emulate in the country. So and why cooperative services network? Why should people do this? Why should people put their money together and work together, especially in opening up cooperative banks? Because we've got the skills, we've got the professionals, we've got everything. We just lack that bandwidth of us working in the same pot. So rating agencies deem cooperative banking first class, trustworthy, and a secure network, simply because it is not a bank that is owned by 5 individuals, and they don't really concern themselves with what happens with their 5,000 or 10,000 customers or clients in there. Whereas a cooperative bank, like I said, if you have 10,000 households in Soweto, Cooperative, and there's a cooperative bank here there, it means every single household is an equal shareholder in the bank, which means everybody is a customer, also a shareholder. Everybody is going to take care of that establishment. Everybody is going to look forward to it to make it work. And that's what rating agencies want to see, because that lessens the risk, and the rating of these kind of cooperatives is an AA minus. So simply because of the less of a risk it is, because everybody is an equal shareholder, customer and shareholder as well. Everybody's working towards one goal. We can move, Kuzo.
Right, thank you, Tando. It's over to me. I'll be taking you through the problem description, which we have found out to be the problem to why our stock files are not working. Firstly, I'll start with the injustices of apartheid because I think that's where it emulates. Because apartheid, what happened to apartheid? They played with our mindsets where we believed that we were not enough, we were not capable and everything. That's why they were able to take our grandmothers and our grandfathers' land and everything, because they just psychologically defeated us. So we just need to unlearn and learn that we can do it. Because if you look at it, as Tata mentioned, our industry it's an informal business. The Stokvel market, it's 4 point something billion if you look at it, it's in billions. But then the banks are not willing to fund them or anything. They are willing to save their money, but then not to fund them so that they become cooperatives and we actually rotate amongst one another because they are too informal, meaning they are too risky. So it is important for us to change our mindset and tell ourselves that we actually can. As informal as our businesses are, if the Somalians were able to come an informal market and formalize it, because they came as a cooperative, they made sure that they just charge prices beneath our tuck shops, our sponsor shops in the townships. And then after a while, we got used to them because they were much closer. Like at every street corner, there was a sponsor shop. So it is very reachable. So you know that you're just gonna go there instead of going to the next street to get whatever you wanted. And then after the tuck shops, the South African tuck shops shut down, they raised their prices because that's what they were here. So cooperatives do work. So we must learn to formalize our businesses. As informal as they are, let's really run them as businesses so that we can sustain ourselves. And then obviously we know that we have a high level of unemployment and poverty in our country, which I believe that the government is trying to help us, but then it's not really going to save us. So we should actually try to lift as we rise. Because I was listening to the radio the other day, and then there was this caller who called and said that through the 350s that they actually got from the government because of the COVID, she went and bought flour and started making fat cakes, and then now she's got a business. So as unemployed as we are, we must look into solutions and help one another. So the one thing that Germany is doing right, it's that they are feeding all industries. Like it's not cooperatives are banks, so it's more for the professional route. But then like every individual in Germany, every skill is utilized. If your skill is agriculture, it will be utilized in that economy. So we must use all our skills, because I believe in South Africa, our skilling is a bit skewed because we take to undermine certain skills. That's why we are not really cooperative. And that's why I'm saying it's because of the injustices of the apartheid, where they looked down on certain careers and they were like they were actually scaling careers where we all stood in the gap and did what we were good in, we will all thrive because we need each other. Whatever skill that you have, we need it. We need the carpenter's skill, we need the agricultural skill, we need everyone's skill, and we also need the professional skills. So together we can win. And then obviously we have a consumption mentality as our country. The problem is that if you look at the people, we can just use the 350 example, the ones that people are getting for COVID-19, or even the social government grants that we have people are not even using it for the intent. Because obviously in our country, there's an imbalance of things. But then if you look at it, most of the people were not using it to only even just buy their basic needs. Some of them were just using it to socialize. So we need to actually change our mindset that way. And then in that way, we will ensure that we start having effective corporate structures, right? So we just did a quick comparative in Germany versus South Africa. In Germany, they've got a long-term economic development and sustainability. And then as we mentioned, that ours is informally designed for a short-term or medium-term needs, where we know that our short-term needs would be for your December groceries and stuff, and the medium term is when a funeral comes, so that you don't go running around. You've got the funds that you need, and then but then we are evolving as South Africans. We've got to give it to ourselves. Where now we've got stockpiles for paying school fees and stuff. So we are actually helping one another. We just need to now formalize it into generating income. And then in Germany, they currently have 1,047 cooperative banks, and we still have 4 cooperative banks. So we still have a long way to go. And imagine if every township actually had its own cooperative bank, like Soweto has had its own bank where each and every shareholder benefits. Whenever you know that your deduction, your debit order bounces, that fee you're actually paying, it's actually going to come back to you. So it is a win solution. So we just need to understand how cooperative banks work. Yes, there are red tapes to get here. It's not a child's play. There are a lot of regulations and stuff that you need to meet, but then we can actually take baby steps, because for you to become a cooperative bank, you must first start being I forgot the name, a financial institute where it doesn't really need a lot of people and stuff. So we can just start making circulating money in our own hands. This is the first way to actually start. And then own and manage their own resources, you see. So everything is owned and run by them. So if you own something, you'll manage it better. Then we outsource everything, and then we wait for the banker and the teller to tell us what we can do and we cannot do. And we know that if you go for financing for a car, they'll finance you ASAP. But then if you come with a business plan, then they've got to weigh everything. And if you go for a short-term loan, they finance you, which is also a high risk because there is a high probability that you won't pay it. But then if you go straight in with a business plan, they won't fund you. So we are giving power to people who are not about us. So we must work on that. And then they built themselves because they started the concept a long time ago. So they're now even exporting to other countries. So they're doing very well. So we need to start locally, and then we will grow and go to other countries and feed it. We can even start with our neighboring countries, the southern sphere, and feed one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuzo. Thank you to the one participant, Fundo. I realize there's 5 cooperative banks, like you said, in there, but when we did the research and we took the data from the South African Reserve Bank, there were only 4. So at this point, maybe there's 5, which means we're moving in the right direction. So thank you for that. So when we looked at the root cause analysis of, and we used a method that's called a fishbone method. We looked at what is really at the bottom of us not moving the direction that we initially wanted to move in 97, you know, when Nelson Mandela sent his team to Germany. Can we please move, Kuzo? So, of course, on the left, it's the problem. So what a root cause is we look at what the issue is, and we look at the many causes that's causing that issue, and we drill it down right up until we find the actual issue. So this is a summarized version of what we actually did, but from the problem that we have with the Stokvels in the township, we saw that the township businesses are collapsing, and there's no, well, at least now the government is trying, especially in the government of Gauteng with the bill they've just passed of 30% of the procurement happening in the townships. I guess that is to mitigate and work with to make sure that township businesses actually gear up and actually have business. So the other one would be there's no capital growth, because like I said, and like Kuto touched on the previous one, the mentality when we start to put money away is consumption in December or consumption in January or consumption, but it's never, are we putting money away to maybe use that money to gear us up more, to make more money? Yes, there are a few that do that, especially in the property space, where people put money together, and then as soon as the money reaches a certain amount, they buy a property, they buy the second property. So we are moving in the right directions. But the third one is spending occurs outside the township. Now, this is it's a very sad one, actually, because you'll find in December, people are putting money away a lot. And in December, you're going to find every single macro, which is outside the township. people are spending millions. Stokvels are spending millions stocking up on groceries and this and that. And the question is, why do we not have our own macro in the townships? Because we do have the finance through the Stokvels. So if a Stokvel or two come together and put their money together in looking at, like Kutso mentioned, doing what the Somalians came here to do, because they're building wholesalers, they're building that. Why do we not have wholesalers in the township that are owned by the people in the township? Because it's the very same Stokvels in the township that are going to buy from the wholesaler in the township and not take the money outside the township, which comes back to what I spoke about earlier, what I touched on money rotation, and that is how we can get to the money rotation. But this is one of the problems. And the township economy is not growing precisely because the money is not rotating. It's just going outside. I mean, big business has now found models of scaling down their business and working out smarter and cleverer business models to get into the township because there is a lot of money there. An example will be ShopRite. They've got I mean, they've went down to USave, and they've even went further down into creating containers. Literally a spaza shop that is ShopRite, you know, because there is a market, there's everything there. I think Pick and Pay is in now, but we in the township are not thinking about doing that. And when these guys come in, I mean, they set up the thing, it's convenient for us. But then again, the spending occurs outside that. Yes, it's occurring inside the township, but who owns ShopRite, you know? It's no one near in the township. So with all those problems, and then, like I said, this is a summarized version, and then we keep on drilling down to everything. So we looked at the two key ones, which is there's no structure for cooperation. People in the township, and I'll say it because I'm from a township, I'm from Soshanguve. They are more focused on competing than they are in cooperating and working together. But like I said, there's no how can I put it? There's no will from the state, as in the German state, to create an environment where people can actually come through and work together and have the necessary infrastructure, whether through municipalities, through the local government, through all these guys, to create incentives and all that. They've tried, but it's not been, the will and the drive from the state has not been what they have for example, getting people to vaccinate. If the government had a push and a drive to actually get people to buy into cooperatives as much as they did to get people to vaccinate, we would be far. So that is one of the key thing. And the other one is objective is consumption. Like I said, all the money that we put together at the end of the day is to consume. And that may not necessarily be an issue if we consumed within the township. Right? If like I said, there was an equivalent of a macro. Now that needs money. For you to open such a big wholesaler, you need money. If you look at, like I said, Stokvels, there's a lot of money there. If a Stokvel or two come together, have the money, and they create a wholesaler specifically for the market of the Stokvels. Now, every single Stokvel in Mamelodi will buy at that wholesaler because it's made for the Stokvels. In Soshanguve, and the money actually rotates because it's the very same people in the Stokvels that own the wholesaler. Even when they go and buy at their own shops. See, pretty much the same like what I touched on with the banks, because it's the people in the community that own the businesses in the township. So when we drill down to everything, these are the two key root causes that we found. There's no structure for cooperatives. People, you speak to people and ask them what cooperatives are. It's highly unlikely you'll get a higher number not knowing what cooperatives are, you know. And I saw a comment just now, I think from Fundo, to change the mindset. The other thing is to change the mindset of consumption. So we need to think of consuming less, because the money that we do have, like Kuzo made an example of somebody taking the money in and using it, gearing it up to make more money, we would be far. We just need to change that mindset. And if we use stockpiles, which create hundreds of thousands and millions, in 12 months, stockpiles have over 500,000, over 1 million. If we can just use that 1,500,000 just to get a 5% return, 4% return on a yearly basis, at the end of the day, the stockpile will be self-sustainable, which is what we want to see in the future. Can we move, Kuzo? Over to you.
Thank you, Tato. So can see the chat room is busy and we are on the possible solution slide. So I think this is where we're gonna put it to the floor, where we came up, when we were doing the research, we came up with 3 suggestions where we can actually explore so that we can come up with solutions. So I'm not sure, Nhlanhla, when people are going to engage, do they text or do they they can raise their hand and then unmute their mics and communicate? Please just assist with that one, because we want to engage on this part, on actually finding the solutions to our township problem.
People can send their questions, or they can type them on the chat box, but otherwise they. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to. We will need to. You can just send questions through questions and answer room, and then the facilitator will have sight of that, or even yourself can have sight. Okay. Which one was first? You can assist in reading. Okay, the first one was what are the business initiatives that a stockpile can be involved in, and which ones can we not? Okay, that one, I believe that they responded to that all businesses are available to us, so we must come up with solutions. That we must actually believe that we are enough and we can, because no one is going to come and save us in the townships. Because if you look at the Rupas and everyone, which we always fight, no one actually came to rescue them. They just took initiative, they stood up and gathered their funds, and then they built their businesses, which are standing today. Your FNBs and stuff, they were started small by small community, which actually grew into big cooperatives where we all want to actually work for. So it is in our hands, basically. So yeah.
Kuzo, can I please get that question again? I don't get the question.
I didn't get the question. It was. Okay, let me find it.
Hello,
let me just
Kuzo.
enlarge. I'm trying to find it. It's what are the business initiatives that a stockpile can get involved in, and which ones can we not participate in?
Okay. Now, I think you touched on it, but that one, it's every single business in the township, actually. I mean, when we were doing this and what I bumped into in part of my research, of our research, is that Parmalat, you know, the processed cheese that they make. Now, their biggest market of selling the processed cheese is the townships, because of the kind of food we sell in the township, amakota, because of iskaftini and all that. So you ask yourself now, why is there nobody in the township making processed cheese if that is the biggest market? So it's literally every single business. If people need to come together and cooperate, but it's and like I touched on earlier, it's more focused on competition rather than cooperating. But you can still compete. But what I always said is that compete on an output level and not on an input level. Kuzo spoke about the Somalians. I'll give you an example of how they kicked out the South African tuck shops. Let's say we're in Diepkloof. In Diepkloof, you would find in the back in the day 4 or 5 tuck shops that belong to 5 different South Africans. Let's say 5 of them. So when these guys go to Albany to go and stock up on bread, shop number 1, shop number 2, shop number 3, shop number 4, they all go individually to go and stock up to Albany. Unlike what these guys did on the Somalians, where they came through, they cooperated. You will find there are 10 shops. And when the 10 shops go, they don't stock up individually. Yes, they are competitors when they are selling to the public. But when they come to stock up, when they go to Albany, they go as one organization, one cooperative. And if you do that, you can actually negotiate buying power. You can negotiate discounts. That is how they gave out the discounts in the township, because you'll find 25 stores coming to stock up on 10 loaves of bread each for a tuck shop. They will definitely get the discount. Unlike the 5 South African guys who each go, they pull up their van. Everybody has a van they go through. These guys get one truck, comes back with a discount. They give the discount. The other guys can't compete. They go out, they say these guys are cheaper. And that's how they get knocked out. So it's not just tuck shops, even salons, people who own salons. If you're going to stock up on your products, don't go individually. Go to 4 or 5 other salons. You'll find you guys are using the same product. When you go and stock up as a unit, and then you can compete whether you get, you get 15 customers, 18 customers and all that. But on an input level, we should not be competing on an input level. On an output level, it's fine. We can compete on who does the fancy hairstyles, but stocking up and all that, I don't think we should be doing that.
All right. Thank you, Tato. I'm going to read the next comment from Sandile, where I'm assuming he's male. Spending occurs outside the township economy. Township economy needs to exploit and own all chains in the value chain network from B2C and vice versa. Similarly, I agree with you when you say there is no structure, or rather a minimal structure for cooperation, collaboration. It would also be great to see a comparative view of stockpiles that have succeeded or mastered the best practice dynamics. Okay, just to give I'll just share my experience with stockpiles, especially if you're creating stockpiles for businesses. I believe that when you start a stockpile, you must know the objective, because this saving money, let's say we agree that we're gonna contribute 1,000 Rand for years, but then we don't really have an objective. We're going to start a business. It can take forever. Because with my experience, I think I joined one of those stockpiles where we're just saving money. We started in 2017 and we are still saving money. There's nothing tangible to it. So that's when I realized that you must really have a goalpost. And then I joined this one recently where they are actually on point. They do their research first. Let's say they are building villas and stuff. So they'll go okay, a villa is 1 million Rand. So if we get 100 people and we all contribute 1,000 Rand or 10,000 Rand, will be done in 2 years, and then we'll own a villa. So that one, I found that they're actually building their assets, their capital, their capital asset very quickly, because there is an objective. So whichever stockpile model that you, especially if you are doing the investment one, have an idea of what you want to achieve. Have a set goal, a clear goal. Let it just not be savings where you'll end up just saving, and probably it'll be in a 32-day notice where you're just netting off, because the interest is actually covering the bank charges where you're actually not gaining anything. So it is very crucial to be very clear when you start the cooperative stockpile contribution for businesses. Okay. Then I'll go to Pule. Pule says, they recognize that government won't do much and we are on our own. We will be on a good wicket. Government can only provide an environment and enabling legislation, then we can play. So, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to just agree on that, and because if you look at, like I said, in South Africa, they've tried to introduce cooperatives, but similarly, the challenges in South Africa are the same challenges that you find in India. And like I said, we could not include that in our research because it was a little bit too much. But I took quite a look at it because I needed to see what's happening. There's a lot of, today, people would say, no, let's open a cooperative because government gives incentives to cooperatives. But what government officials do is they actually intervene there. You'll find cooperatives, it's me, it's Kuto, she's my friend, it's another friend that we know. And then we want to, it's not because there's 5 people in the industry or 5 people doing this. I'm going to include my uncle. My uncle knows nothing about what we are doing, but we need someone there to add the numbers of the 4th and 5th person. And then we are going to go, the same government officials are going to be, soliciting contracts and tenders the same way they currently do for cooperatives. I like to agree with that because in Germany, it's not government, it's not from the government to the people, it's actually the people to the government. Hence, I'm saying rural Germany sustains itself. And Kuzo was speaking about when we were comparing the two, the international standards to exports. These guys are on par. They are on international exporting. So whatever food is needed in Canada or wherever, in rural, and we could have that in Soweto, something that is needed in Toronto, Canada, is actually found in Soweto, but that is us putting processes together and putting standards together. But the point of it has to begin with the people. And the advantage we have a little is because we have Stokvels already. So we have groups of people already coming together. It's just that matter of twisting and just polishing why we are together, and not for consumption and for actual productivity and sustainability. I just wanted to add on to that one. Thanks, Kuzo.
Thank you. We have another one from Hector. He's saying that is today's discussion initiative from the young professionals. If that's the case, humble request we take the discussion further. Let BMF have this as part of our key township economy programs. Some of us are already have together, are already working on models. Humble request, we need you to be part of us. Soweto BMF Menco is in the process to partner with other partners with COP understanding, and we have team with knowledge. Can I challenge the team to join our initiative and let us move? Yes, we can. What do you think?
Well, I have no issues. I have no issues with you want to work with progressive. It's just unfortunate that after we were done with our research, and we actually did the presentation during, I think it was level 5. During level 5 COVID. So everything came to a standstill. We couldn't really, the momentum that we had in the research and doing everything and going forward, we could not sustain because of that. But if anybody would like to and sharing ideas, I'm game for it. So I'm available.
All right. The next one is from Zanele. Zanele saying that, are we not depending too much on government though? I ask say this, taking to mind that in the very forum, we have what I consider to be SME that can lead the adoption of managing the township economy. Zanele, I totally agree with you, but then from what we've said here was that government won't do much. If we read what Pule said the day we recognize that government won't do much and we are on our own, we will be on a good wicket. So we are on the same page where government will just enable us by creating policies and stuff so that they can assist us, but then we are literally on our own. We have to work. So yeah, I agree with your suggestion that we should consider the SMEs which are already here. They must start cooperating. True.
I think Kotazo has a hand up there.
Apparently they can't, they'll have to text. So probably.
What happened?
Oh. Yes, Kotato.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Oh, all right. No, okay. I'm not quite. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry about that. Kumo, you've mentioned oh no, it's not even Kumo, it's Tato. You said something about at least trying to run away from this thing at Stokvel, going from hand to mouth. But I'm really curious to know, okay, here we are as Stokvel Sakososhanguve with 10 members. We have our 10 Ks each kept. Where do we start? Where do we begin? Where do we find support for establishing and registering our cooperative? And where do we begin? We are interested. We'd like to buy macro. We'd like to also start our warehouse somewhere. But where do we begin?
Look, you begin at home, eh? Like Kuto said, because like she spoke about a Stokvel that says, okay, guys, let's get a villa, right? And then you look at a villa, okay, to get to a villa, how much does a villa cost? It costs 1 million. Okay, at R1 million, as members, would we be able to take out 100,000 rands each? No. Okay, how much would we be able to take out? We'd be able to take out 10,000? No. 5,000? Yes. Okay. You start there and take out the 5,000. You find out what is actually needed in opening up that kind of business. You do a bit of research in whatever it is that you want to get into. So when you are saving the 2,000 rands, 3,000 rands, 5,000 rands, you are not, it's okay if you're broke in December. It's really okay. It's really okay. Because in the next coming 10 or 15 or even 20, 50 Decembers, maybe 5, 6 years later, you are going to be really okay because everybody is going to be coming to your actual warehouse. So it begins in, and it's been said on the platform many times, it begins in the mindset. Because, and like Kuto said, if we are going to start saving, what is the purpose of the saving? Yes, we know there's the rainy day, there's this and that and this and that. And somebody actually, a while ago, before COVID, somebody asked me about this. And I said, look, if you guys are used to saving money, and he was bragging to me like, hey, go social 700,000. I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, in January, you guys are going to be crying, but you guys have 700,000 rands right now. So it's a matter of, if you guys have 700,000 rands, right? You can take a resolution because everybody's an equal partner in a cooperative, right? So you can take a resolution and say, guys, this year we are going to subtract 10% of 700,000, right? Which is about 70 grand. We can share the 630,000 and do what we normally do and buy groceries, but the 70,000 remains behind. And that is what you start to use to start to gear up for looking for business opportunities in the township and actually start to gear up that money for more things. And the thing is, you're asking of where to start. You start in the township, like I said again. You look at what is happening around you. You look at what is there, because that is what big business is doing. They're always looking at what is happening, what is not there, and they're always providing it. So if Stokvels start to look at things that way, start to actively look for opportunities, and they can look for opportunity and they can take advantage of them, because at the bank they've got money at the bank. And like I said, if they take the 630 and go to macro and buy, it's fine. It's a start. They've got 70,000 rands now that they can simply use to take advantage of any business opportunity in the township. The next year they'll have 140,000. The next year they'll have this. The next year they'll have that. In no time they have 1 million rand. And that bigger long-term project can be funded from that. And it's not going to hamper anybody immediately in the pocket, and it's going to sustain everyone. So it's just a matter of switching man, that we must just like, because we've got the platforms, we've got the Stokvels, we've got the money, we've got the capacity, we've got professionals everywhere. Whether it's banking, financing, agriculture, engineering, Black people are everywhere. We've got everything, all the knowledge and expertise, but we just need to, we work on the capital side of things and actually at some point get to a point where when we are talking about capitalists and when we're talking about capital, we're actually talking about Black people, because we can get there. So in answering your question, we start in the mind, man, in making it very clear what we are doing. And there's different ways of doing it. I hope that answers your question.
It does, sir.
Thank you. We have Mfundo saying, if government is serious about growing the sector, why don't financial cooperatives under a certain threshold be exempted from tax? And then he continues and says, it's not always about government providing financial assistance, but how about providing a bank system for the sector? Members interest in starting a financial cooperative may contact the Cooperative Bank Development Agency, which is in-house at the National Treasury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can comment on that, Tati.
No. It's true. That's where the office is, and that's where the office is. And again, the BMZ guys, which you touched on initially, which are very. In fact, the Germans have very nice programs in supporting South Africa. I think their office is sitting with the DTI, if I'm not mistaken, between the DTI and Treasury. But I would say the DTI. They are sitting with the DTI, and if you need to, turn your Stokvel into a CFI, which is a Cooperative Finance Institute, before you can actually become a cooperative bank. You start from being a CFI. I mean, if you take, well, it's a little bit. I might be stretching it a bit, but how many mashonisas do we have? If those guys just banded together, right, and not I don't want to use the word extorted, but if they didn't cripple people so much, because they've all got the same business model, but everybody's pulling in different directions. You put the same people together with their monies, with their investments, and they start to do something that is genuine, So it's just a matter again of the switching of the mind and cooperating.
Okay, just to add on with the cooperative, the CFIs, if I remember correctly, you need at least 200 members, and you also need 100,000. So if you are 200 members, it's not a challenge to get to 200,000, thinking of it, because we just need to contribute a minimum amount, which is not even material. Because I remember we once embarked on that journey where we took out 250 and stuff, but then getting 200 people to cooperate with one another, people, I don't want to lie, it's a nightmare. So I believe let us start small with maybe probably 10 people before you go to a CFI, so that you are able to manage the challenges of running a business. Yes, I was correct. Thank you, Mfundo. That is the minimum requirement, and the 100,000 in shares. Yes. So I am correct. Thank you, Mfundo, for confirming that. So it is a challenge to make 200 members to cooperate with one another, because the experiment that we went through is that we took different Stokvels through the local economic, the Department of Economics. So obviously Stokvels cooperate, that attend the functions. So they came, I think it was 4 or 5 Stokvels with 50 to 20, but then we made it 200. But then for the chairs and everyone to cooperate for a greater goal, it didn't work, because everyone wants to rule and everyone wants to do certain things. So managing bigger groups can be a challenge. We can start small. I think small beginnings are very important. Like, start small and grow bigger. If we look at the women's cooperative that they are building now, if you listen to her story, that lady, they started small and they grew. So even when they were dealing with the mammoth of registering their cooperative, they had some experience of the challenges. So it is still a tedious process, but then at least they can take the curves, because they have experience on the small wins that they actually did. So I believe that we should just start small.
Righty.
Can I just add something, Kuto?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, a few weeks back, Kutatso and the BMF Soweto held a function where the MMC Pakistan came there to let people know about the bill that the Gauteng government passed of 30% procurement in the township. So 30% procurement of the Gauteng budget is going to the townships. In my mind, one of the challenges that the government or the Gauteng government is going to face is capacity. Because when government procures, they don't procure like how my grandfather used to send me and buy one braai pack and you cook today and cook tomorrow and you go the next day. They want 100 pilots of braai packs. And you will find that in Soweto, for example, there's people that can supply 7. One can supply 8. One can supply 15. But they instead of them banding together and taking the 7, 8, the 12 to make up the 100, you will find that everyone is trying to go in and borrow money from the mashonisa or borrow money from auntie just to be the only one that is actually able to supply the 30% that the government is looking for, which comes back to us at not competing at input cost. People need to start working together, especially people that are in the same industry. Like I'm saying, you can compete on the output, but if you are in agriculture, whether you are sowing, whether you go to the next guy and start to speak to them and find out what is it that we can do together to grow ourselves, because it's more resources, it's more minds together, it's more of everything. And like I said, when the government comes and says we want to procure 30%, it's a lot. One of the challenges that is going to be is the capacity. People are not going to be able to supply so big, but if they come together and work together and put their resources together, they can actually be able to take advantage of the 30%, even beyond 30%, you know. Just wanted to add that.
All right, thank you, Tato. We will move on to the next question. I think we had a lot of chats coming up. Okay. They said stockpiles are created for different purposes. The investment stockpiles should be targeted, and if they band together, there shall be a capital to do something big. We totally agree with that. Then we'll move to Tabang. Tabang says, I think the administration is always challenging. So besides government providing support financially, I think the government can assist with providing support in terms of education. I started a small scale farming business and only found out later on that there's something called management accounts. I think the red tape, which is inherent with formalizing this, also deters group morale. People in townships and rural areas need education in that regard. If co-ops are going to be sustainable and progressive, I totally agree with you, Tabang. I cannot add or subject anything.
Just on Tabang's point, I mean, Tabang started a small scale farm, right? And when he says he started a small scale farm, he started alone. Now, I'm not saying it would be the case, but if there were 5 or 6, 7 other people who were studying the very same thing, probably if 6 minds are there, probably it would come that one of the 6 people would, before he even before it even becomes an obstacle to him. If you put 6 minds together, probably one of the 6 people, this guy is focused on this guy is focused on this, you find out this. You come together and you delegate the responsibility. Go and find out about the red tape. Delegate one guy, go and find out. We don't want anything to stop us with the red. The guy goes, he does his research, he does what he does, he comes back and hey, Tabang, we are going to need a management account, before it becomes an obstacle. Comes back again to people actually literally actively looking to come together and work together for the same purpose. Just wanted to add quickly on that one. But I agree.
All right, thank you, Tato. And then we'll move to Bule. Bule is saying that stockpiles are regulated by exemption as long they have less than 10 million, if my memory serves me right. So I think he's responding. We had a question above where they were saying that why aren't stockpiles exempt from tax? So the government is actually taking care of us from what Bule is saying.
he's saying that we are actually exempt, so we're good to go. And then, okay, that's Mfundo. Mfundo was confirming the startup of the CFIs. And then we come to Hector saying that, can we have people who understand this game to attend this initiative? Mfundo, I request you give Nhlanhla your contact so that we include you and cooperate as cooperators to build cooperative model for Black Township Business First. Okay, Hector is networking, like, and Mfundo says the Gauteng Department of Economic Development has a section which assists financial cooperatives in terms of capacitating. Yes, okay, I did respond on that. Yes, they will connect you, but then the team dynamics are still the team dynamics. They're the ones who connected us with the people we actually spoke about, but then the marriage didn't work. So the government tries, but then, yes, school fees needs to be paid one way or another. You learn the hard way. And then we have Kotata. Let's not neglect to discuss the legitimacy of these cooperatives. People have suffered through these cooperatives, both Triple M, WhatsApp, Stokvel. Okay, just to comment on Kotata, was that a cooperative or was that a pyramid scheme? Because I believe that they are different. Remember, the objective of your Triple M's, your WhatsApp Stokvels, is to make quick money, which is not sustainable because the model itself, it's not sustainable. I make you join and I give Tato your money and my money. That's why he's getting 400 from his 200 that he contributed. So the model itself was just messed up. That's why it never really worked. So yeah, thank you. That's it from the questions that we have. I think that's it. So, okay, I'll go back to the presentation. The presentation was that this is what we came up with, mass campaign to create awareness and educate and build one another, which I believe that we have actually started. This seminar is, I'll call it a seminar. It's one of those, we are like-minded people who are sharing ideas on how we can actually make cooperatives and stockpiles work in the township. So if we all go back to our communities and actually implement what we saying, we will actually move forward. Every township to open a cooperative bank. We'll get here one day, hopefully, and pass policies to force big businesses in using at least few cooperatives from the townships in value chain. So from what I've heard from Tato, it's already done 30% of procurement to going back to the township. So I believe that we are moving. Yeah, I'll move it over to Tato and then yeah, he'll conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuto. I'm just reading now something that says financial education is very crucial. Can we move, Kuto, in our community? Which is, if you look at the three possible solutions, let's go back, Kuto. You moved the slide. Yeah. On this one here, so these were the three possible solutions. So a mass campaign to create awareness and education and build awareness is what I just read now, because it's the financial education is what actually a cooperative is. It's what actually making money is, you know, because nobody ever teaches you how to make money in your 12 years of schooling. Even in economics, they don't teach you how to make money, you know. So that's the three possible solutions that we looked at. But the one that is actually fundamental to all, if every township is to open a cooperative bank, we need to start on the first one, which is people need to know what we are talking about. There has to be a drive of some sort. Okay, the third point of the policy to force businesses using that is the government taking the initiative on their own, right? So they're saying, okay, procurement from the state, at the very least from the state, let's give 30% to the people. But as and when time moves and people come together and people get serious about business, even the Pick and Pays, the ShopRite, the games, the macros in the township must be forced to get products like fresh produce, from the local economy. If there's a ShopRite go Deep Kloof, they must look around there. They can't go to the Joburg market. They must look around to where they are for local maybe cooperatives who can supply them with such things like as fresh produce and everything else that is actually deliverable in the township and that is there. Can we move, Kuto?
Okay. Do you want to quickly, I'm on that room, like, can I, so that you conclude, ne? Okay. Okay, I'll just read them. Mfundo is saying there is a difference between pyramid scheme and cooperatives. And then Khotata says, okay, financial education is crucial in our townships, we read on that. And Zanele is saying that can I actually call on you guys to do this presentation for stockpiles and around in my area?
I've got no problem.
Yes, you can. Right,
Please just move.
we'll move here.
No, there's a slide missing before that. Okay. Okay. There's a slide where we actually took the three possible solutions and we weighed them. We weighed which one is going to be the best suited solution, which was actually the first one. Can we go up, Kuzo? Which was actually the first solution. But here we just thumb-sucked on which is the mass campaign to create awareness, education, and build, because people don't know what we are talking about. And I've been part of Stokvels and I've left them because, in fact, they've actually moved from being Stokvels to social clubs. It's no more Stokvels. Stokvels is for the most serious people, you know, but people go there, they take out the money and they drink, they eat. Some of them get fined. And that is how they actually look to generate the profit from the money they save, through fines. I mean, I found myself at the end of the year, I looked at it, I was like, what are we doing here, you know? And I joined for the 1 year and I left. And then when I started speaking to them about this, they'll go, yeah, but when somebody starts to think that, December, I'm not going to have money, they start to think twice. They're like, we are not interested in this, which is what we actually need to, we need to change. There was a time where me and 13 guys went to Soccer City to watch a football game. And I raised this, guys, let's open a stockpile. No one is getting their money back. That's what I said from the beginning. No one is getting their money back. We put 1,000 rands for 10 months in 12 months. We give ourselves 2 months break, not 12 months. Okay. Give yourself November and December or January and December break. But in 10 months, we take out 1,000 rands. It's 10,000 rands and it's 13 of us. That means it's 130,000 rands by the end of the year, you know? At the next year, it's 260,000. We can do something tangible with that money. We went from 13 to being 3. So it's 3 guys now that are actually doing that. And we are still actually, we did it like for 2 years. And then now we've got, we take advantage of opportunity. Some people are able to come, what do they call it, purchase order from the state. Somebody comes with a purchase order, but they don't have the capital. We simply take the money and we work out a way and say, okay, we're going to give you this money for the order. And then when they get paid, we get paid. We get paid our money plus maybe 10, 20%. But also the money that we have in the account also helps us. So it's us 3 guys. If now Ketato, and I need to open a salon, and my salon is going to cost me 12,000 rands. I'm not going to go to the bank. I'm going to go to my very own cooperative. And I'm going to go with a business plan, fully business plan, and present to the other 2 guys, which are not obliged to give me the money, but they need to see where the money is going and where the money is coming from. And again, the money that is helping me is my very own money that I put there. So again, the money circulates from that. So I think the first one on those, which is mass campaign to create awareness and educate, and I'm glad people are somebody's asking, can you come to my area and you say this? It means it is actually the most viable option that we need to go for. Can we move, Kuzo? Yeah.
Can I just interject? Zanele has a question. Zanele saying, allow me to play devil's advocate. How will we prevent the abuse of the enforcement of 3 cops? in inverted commas, rule, like that which we are witnessing from the tender processing?
Pardon?
Okay, Zanele is actually saying that, remember on the slide, we had that.
What's the question? I didn't get the question.
Yes, trying to explain. Our point number 3 says pass policies to force big businesses in using at least 3 cooperatives from the townships value chain. So what she is saying is that how will we prevent the abuse of the rule like that which we are witnessing from the tender processing, where tenders are favoring people and stuff? That's what she's asking.
Look, I think it's better off. Cooperatives are always better, Zanel, and I mean I don't think it's our job to police that. I think there are institutions who are actually in place to be able. They just need to be functional. If we have a functional state, I don't think we'd have to worry about that. But the good thing about a cooperative is if like I'm forgetting his name now, with the guy with the chicken farm. If there are 4 or 5 chicken farms coming together as one cooperative, they've got a much higher deliverable rate, you know. So if they get the tender, it's not just one person, it's not just 2 people, it's 5, 6 people, and that is what a cooperative is all about, and that's what it offers. It offers more for more people instead of the one guy there at the corner and the 2 guys there at the corner, and that's why people need to come together. But I don't think it's beyond our powers to police what the state is doing. They just need to do the right thing. And if we start to come together as cooperative, as business, and we start working together and not against each other, remember the state is us actually. It starts to become a matter of the people to the state, as it is in Germany, because in Germany the way they've changed and improved and polished the infrastructure and everything of cooperatives comes from the cooperatives themselves, because they tell the state, this is what we want to do. We want to export straight from the cooperatives, because they couldn't do that at the beginning. You couldn't take from rural, you had to pass by somewhere and then you export. They petitioned because they are the people there. That is what they want. They petitioned, this is what we want to do. We want to export directly from the cooperatives there, and it was allowed. So I think it's beyond us. I think we can't.
Just to add on what Tato is saying, I believe the tender favoring and stuff, it's not in our control. So we honestly have to focus on what's in our control so that we can actually grow. Honestly, it will always be those threats which will always happen to the cooperative where you can't really mitigate, but then, yeah. It is what it is. Okay, I'll go to Gao. Gao says, regarding what Tato is mentioning about people worrying about December payouts, our Stokvel has monthly and yearly payouts for members. Okay, I've got a follow-up question for Gao. Is this a Mochodisa? No, is this a Stokvel? Where are you getting the money to be paying people every month and yearly?
Is that a question?
I've got a question for him. He'll reply. So you can, yeah.
No, I
So
just wanted to
want
touch with what's on the screen, with what you've shared on the screen. So if everybody could just never mind on the right-hand side, because those were just thumb-sucked amounts. But in the campaign, we'd have a roundtable with all the stakeholders of the campaigns, and then we'd have various provincial campaign breakdown structure layout. So every single province needs to have a sort of a command center of letting the province know, because they would know better. Pretty much like a provincial government, we'd have our own structure within the government. Because if you look at the KZN government versus the Free State government, it's totally different economies. So you need people that are going to structure that in a particular way, based on what the necessities there's, and the other guys do their own thing, And the gathering of Stokvels, you through Necessa, because these guys have they actually have a database of National Stokvel Association. Yeah, Mr. Biela. So we can call out on all Stokvels through that way, because the only other way is to go to the banks and ask them for the database. They're going to tell you to go and jump, because they wouldn't want guys to do anything else with their money, you know. And then financial services partnerships in campaign capital education. The banks, even though the banks still need the money, so we can partner up with the banks just to try and educate people on what, because they've got the infrastructure, they've got the reach. We can do that, including the government. I mean, the state, they have the reach. Partner up with them just to get the word out there. And then local government engagements in preparations of local infrastructure. If there's no local infrastructure, somebody said this about something, the structure of cooperatives is non-existent, you know, it's non-existent. They know nothing about it. Even the local municipalities know nothing about it. So working together with the state in getting the word out there and letting people know that, you know, working together is actually better than working at the corner on your own, you know. And then we advertise the campaigns through the local media, local radio stations, local newspapers, and all that. Just let people know and synergize different stakeholders onto this thing. And there's quite a few stakeholders. I'll let Kuto go through them after that. But in the most viable solution that we looked at, that is the breakdown that we looked at how to approach.
All right, thank you, Tato. So these were the people who were assisting us, which were the key stakeholders, where we mentioned NAPCOC and your FAB, COS, and your Rustenburg Taxi associations, your Stokvel members, and then Mr. Velu was our mentor, NASASA. Yes, to respond to you, NASASA is not the exclusive gateway, but then it's one of the stakeholders which can assist you with your issues. And the National Treasury, which we have discussed, the many cooperative that we have discussed, I believe that we need to cooperate. This is just to show us that from this long list, which we can all read ourselves, we just need to work with one another. We literally need to cooperate to move forward. That's why our engagements are important, because you share your ideas, your experiences, I share mine, we learn from each other and we move forward, and then we connect. And then we become a better township and we make money in a nutshell. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you. If we have more questions, we'll take them. Yeah, thank you so much. So just to continue, okay, I'm reading the Stokvel case. Who is explaining their model? Members have control over 50% of their monthly contributed funds. The Stokvel will, on a monthly basis, decide where to invest 50% of their members' funds, and the other 50% the member must decide. The interest generated from the 50% of the funds that the Stokvel decided on will be accessed when the payouts are made at the end of the year. And the interest generated from the 50% of the funds that the members decided on can be accessed on a monthly basis. Okay, Kawa, I'm gonna just try to make sense, ne? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, you're saying that we have a monthly contribution, ne? I'm gonna put it to 1,000 rand. Let's say we are in the Stokvel, we're contributing 1,000 rand. And then 500 rand, it's for investments, and then 500 rand, it's in the bank account. Then from what I'm understanding, they are both generating income. The other one is generating income from investments, and the other one is generating income from, I'll assume it's from the bank. So they share, am I following? Just correct me. Okay, we get it. I'm just confirm if I'm not, it's okay. Because I believe, yeah.
Just please give me the next slide, Kuto, because I think that's a parting shot. It's a good for a parting shot, because it says the decision requested, which when we were doing our presentation for the panel, they asked, what is it that we look for? You know, what is it that we want? So we said a serious undertaking to the, you moved, Kuto, a serious undertaking to the contents of this document and support in the execution of the recommendations, which for us, the biggest one is the most viable option. And we said government institutions should guide and support this, not lead it. That's important, and that's what I wanted to get into, because like I said, in Germany it's people to the government, so they shouldn't lead the cooperatives. They should leave it to the actual cooperative to come up with how they want to frame and lead the sort of like the structure and how cooperatives are done and run in the country. So, and the reason why we put a note that is in capital letters is because one of the biggest challenges in India, which is the same thing happening in South Africa, but it's not as prevalent in South Africa. In South Africa, it's still that soliciting of contracts and this one, but in India, there's a lot of government, whoa.
What
I'm not
happened?
sure what happened. Yeah, I'm also not. I hope he's okay though. Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, I just hope it's okay. He's okay.
Right.
All right. That was scary. Okay, we will proceed to questions and then maybe probably closure. Okay, and then Mfundo agrees that we are working in silos. So I believe by what we have started, we are breaking the silos, because we are coming to realize that we need each other. We cannot make it on our own. We really need each other. So we are moving forward. So yeah, then will be Malosi saying, good evening, I'm Malosi. This initiative for only townships and rural areas are included. So yeah, I replied that rural areas are included because nowadays we have technology, so every area is accessible. Let us carry one another and make our townships, our rural areas in our country a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Kumo. I just hope Tato is fine.
Yeah, I'll just check now after this.
Yeah, all right. So I think we've wrapped up everything. I was still presenting. Is the slide?
We are done, thank you.
All right, okay. So in conclusion, we must move away from black child, you are on your own. Now it's black child, you are not on your own, because then we have seen that being on our own is not assisting us as the Black nation. So the topic was saying, how can Stokvel cooperative finance address challenges in the township economy? So my conclusion is that if we can gather together and save money, for instance, a typical example in Soweto, we gather money together and we, instead of chowing the money or buying groceries, we arrange, that we help a certain school, or we help a certain government institute. We also need their services. For instance, Baragwanath Hospital, for example, if we say maybe let's all, each and every Soweto citizen, answer 50 rand, maybe towards buying one necessary equipment to save our lives. So that's how Stokvel cooperatives can assist us in township economy. Are there any other questions?
We have a hand from Ezekiela, yay.
But thank you, Ndate Vezi. We really appreciate this. So Aluta continua. Thank you, Tsepo. We really appreciate the session. It was very informative, and I hope it means all of us have gathered something from it, something we can learn from and something we can take with us. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.